Level 0. The sun feels good on your skin, warm, familiar, maybe even safe. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every single second you spend outside, invisible radiation is bombarding your body at the speed of light. You can't see it, can't smell it, can't feel it happening. Yet it's quietly rewriting your DNA, one photon at a time. We're talking about ultraviolet radiation, and it comes with a deceptively simple measurement system called the UV index. Most people glance at it the same way they check tomorrow's temperature casually, without much thought. But that little number isn't just a weather detail. It's a warning label, a countdown, and understanding what it really means could be the difference between healthy skin and something far more sinister decades down the road. At UV index 0, you're essentially safe. This happens at night, obviously, when the sun has dipped below the horizon and its rays can no longer reach you. But even during the day in winter, especially at high latitudes near the poles, the UV index can hover at or near 0. The sun sits so low in the sky that its ultraviolet light gets scattered and absorbed by the atmosphere before it reaches the ground. In places like northern Alaska or Scandinavia during winter months, you could stand outside all day without sunscreen and your skin wouldn't register any UV damage. It's the only time the sun truly gives you a free pass. The physics behind this protection is remarkable. When sunlight travels through the atmosphere at extreme angles, it passes through significantly more ozone, oxygen, and atmospheric particles. This extended journey acts like nature's filter, blocking the most harmful wavelengths before they reach your skin. But don't get too comfortable, because UV 0 is rare. The moment spring arrives, or you travel closer to the equator, the numbers start climbing. And once that index moves from 0 to even just 1 or 2, the invisible assault begins. Your skin cells start absorbing radiation. Your body's repair mechanisms kick into overdrive, trying to patch the damage before it becomes permanent. Most of the time they succeed, but every once in a while, something slips through. A mutation here, a broken DNA strand there. But what happens when that damage isn't just occasional? What if it's constant, invisible, and slowly building towards something you can't reverse? Level 1. Welcome to UV index 1 through 2, the level most people call perfectly fine. The sun's out, maybe there's a gentle breeze, and everything feels pleasant. This is the range you'll find on overcast winter days, or during early morning and late afternoon hours when the sun hangs low. Health authorities say you can stay outside without protection for hours this level. Your skin won't burn, you won't turn red. For all practical purposes, it seems like the sun is being gentle. But here's what they don't emphasize enough. Damage is still happening. Even at these low levels, UVA rays are penetrating deep into your skin, reaching the dermis where collagen lives. That's the protein that keeps your skin firm and youthful. Every exposure to UVA, no matter how mild, breaks down a little more collagen. The effects are cumulative. You won't notice it today, or next month, or even next year. But fast forward 2 decades, and those harmless winter walks without sunscreen start showing up as fine lines, wrinkles, and sagging skin that makes you look older than you are. And it's not just about vanity. UVA also suppresses your immune system right there in your skin. That's why some people get cold sores when they spend time in the sun, even on cloudy days. The virus was dormant, waiting, and the UV radiation gave it an opening by weakening the body's defenses. At UV index 1 or 2, this seems trivial, a minor inconvenience. But it's a preview of what UV radiation does at its core. It compromises your body's ability to protect itself. The other ray to worry about is UVB. At these low levels, UVB is weak, but it's still present. This is the radiation that directly damages the DNA in your skin cells, creating mutations. Most of the time, your cells catch these errors and fix them. But every now and then, one slips through. That rogue cell keeps dividing, keeps mutating, and years later it becomes the kind of growth dermatologists cut out of your skin and send to a lab. Basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, the good cancer, doctors sometimes call them, because they rarely kill, but they still require surgery, stitches, and scars. What makes this level deceptive is the comfort. You feel no heat, no burning sensation, no warning that anything is wrong. Yet free radicals are forming in your skin cells, attacking lipids and proteins, creating a cascade of damage your body must constantly repair. So yes, UV index 1 to 2 feels safe, and compared to what's coming, it practically is. But don't mistake low risk for no risk. But once that index climbs into the moderate range, the damage stops being subtle. It becomes fast, visible, and permanent. Level 2. This is where things shift. UV index 3 to 5 is labeled moderate, and this is the range most people experience on a typical sunny day in spring. Step outside at midday and you're probably sitting right in this zone. The sun feels warm, the sky is blue, and everything seems normal. Except it's not. This is the level where sunburn becomes a real possibility if you're not careful. At UV 3, Fair-skinned individuals can start to burn in as little as 30 to 40 minutes of direct exposure. By UV5, that window shrinks to 15 or 20 minutes. And burning isn't just painful, it's catastrophic for your skin. Every sunburn you get, especially before age 20, dramatically increases your lifetime risk of melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. Just 5 blistering sunburns between childhood and early adulthood more than doubles your risk. 5. That's one bad beach day every couple of years during your youth, and decades later, you're sitting in a dermatologist's office hearing words you never wanted to hear. But even if you don't burn, UV index 3 to 5 is causing harm. UVA continues its attack on collagen and elastin, accelerating aging. UVB keeps creating mutations in your skin cells. And here's the insidious part. You feel fine. There's no immediate feedback, no warning system. Your body is taking hits, and you're completely unaware until years later when the consequences start showing up. This is also the range where people make their biggest mistakes. They think, it's not that sunny, or I'm only outside for a little while, and they skip the sunscreen. Or they apply it once in the morning and forget to reapply after sweating or swimming. Meanwhile, the UV index doesn't care about your assumptions. It's a measurement of intensity, and at 3 to 5, the intensity is high enough to cause real harm with prolonged exposure. Eyes are vulnerable too. UV radiation at this level contributes to cataracts, a clouding of the lens that eventually requires surgery. Surfer's eye, a growth on the cornea, also thrives in environments with moderate UV exposure, especially near water or snow where sunlight reflects and amplifies. Sunglasses aren't just a fashion statement. They're protection against damage that accumulates silently over decades. By the time you hit UV index 5, dermatologists and health agencies start urging you to seek shade during midday hours, wear protective clothing, and use broad-spectrum sunscreen with at least SPF 30. Not because this level is extreme, but because it's common. Most people spend most of their outdoor time in this range, and the cumulative exposure adds up fast. This is the danger zone hiding in plain sight. The level that feels manageable but quietly builds towards something worse. But once you cross into UV index 6, the burns come faster, the damage cuts deeper, and your margin for error disappears completely. Level 3. Now we're entering UV index 6 and 7, officially classified as high. This is summer in most temperate regions. The sun is fierce, shadows are short, and the heat radiating off pavement feels almost aggressive. At this level, unprotected skin burns fast. Fair-skinned people can turn red in 10 to 15 minutes. Even those with darker complexion, who have more melanin providing natural protection, aren't immune. Everyone is at risk here. It's just a matter of how quickly the damage shows up. What makes UV index 6 to 7 particularly dangerous is how deceptive it feels. The day might not seem that extreme. It's hot, sure, but it's not unbearable. You're not in the desert. You're not at high altitude. You're just at the beach, or a park, or maybe a backyard barbecue. And yet, the UV radiation hitting your skin at this level is intense enough to cause immediate cellular damage. This is also the range where photoaging accelerates visibly. Spend a summer working outdoors without protection, and by fall you'll notice your skin looks different, rougher, drier. Maybe a few more freckles or sunspots have appeared? What you're seeing is oxidative stress, a process where UV radiation generates free radicals that attack the structural proteins in your skin. Collagen breaks down faster than your body can replace it. Elastin fibers snap. The result is skin that looks older than it should, and the damage is permanent. Eye damage intensifies here too. Prolonged exposure to UV 6 or 7 without sunglasses significantly increases the risk of photokeratitis, essentially a sunburn of the cornea. It's excruciating, like having sand rubbed in your eyes. And while it usually heals within a few days, repeated exposure leads to long-term problems. Cataracts, macular degeneration, blindness in extreme cases. Your eyes aren't built to handle this level of radiation without protection. And then there's the immune suppression. UV radiation at high levels doesn't just damage your skin, it actively weakens your immune system's ability to detect and destroy abnormal cells. This is why people who spend a lot of time in the sun are more prone to skin infections and why cancerous cells have an easier time taking hold. Your body's surveillance system is compromised. The very thing that's supposed to protect you is being sabotaged by invisible light. At UV index 6 to 7, sunscreen isn't optional. Neither are hats, sunglasses, and shade. This is the level where casual sun exposure turns into a calculated risk. Every minute outside without protection is a gamble, and the odds are stacked against you. But when the index climbs to 8 or higher, burns happen in minutes, skin ages in real time, and the sun becomes something you can't afford to ignore even for a second. Level 4. UV index 8 through 10 is classified as very high, and this is where most people start to feel genuine concern. This range is common in tropical regions, near the equator, or at high altitudes where the atmosphere is thinner and provides less protection. Summer in Australia, the Caribbean, or the southwestern United States regularly hits these numbers. And at this level, the sun is no longer something you can afford to underestimate. Unprotected skin burns in less than 10 minutes. For some people, it's even faster. 5 minutes of direct midday sun at UV index 10, and fair skin is already turning pink. The pain comes later, hours after exposure, when the inflammation kicks in and your skin feels like it's on fire. But the real damage is deeper. At these UV levels, the rate of cellular harm skyrockets. Your cells are being hit with so much radiation that repair mechanisms struggle to keep pace. This is also where photoaging becomes undeniable. People who live in high UV environments and don't protect their skin age visibly faster. Leathery texture, deep wrinkles, dark spots scattered across sun-exposed areas. It's not subtle. Studies comparing identical twins, where one spent more time in the sun than the other, show dramatic differences. The sun-exposed twin looks a decade older, sometimes more. That's not genetics. That's UV radiation rewriting the structure of their skin. But skin isn't the only victim. At UV index 8 to 10, your risk of developing serious eye conditions climbs sharply. Surfers, skiers, and people who work outdoors in these conditions often develop pterygium, a fleshy growth that creeps across the white of the eye toward the cornea. It's benign but disfiguring, and severe cases require surgical removal. Cataracts also accelerate. The World Health Organization estimates that up to 20% of cataract cases worldwide are caused or worsened by UV exposure. That's millions of people losing their vision, at least partially because of sunlight. And here's something most people don't realize. UV radiation at this level can penetrate light clothing. A standard cotton t-shirt has a UV protection factor of around 5 to 7, which means a significant amount of radiation still reaches your skin underneath. If you're wearing a white shirt at the beach on a UV index 10 day, you're still getting exposed. Tightly woven fabrics, dark colors, and specially designed UV-blocking clothing offer better protection. But even then, any exposed skin is under assault. The damage at this level extends beyond what you can see. DNA methylation patterns in your skin cells begin to shift, altering how genes are expressed. This epigenetic damage can persist for years, increasing susceptibility to cancers long after the exposure ends. This is the range where dermatologists start sounding like doomsday preachers. Seek shade, reapply sunscreen every 2 hours, wear long sleeves, wide-brimmed hats, wrap-around sunglasses, limit outdoor activity between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. It sounds extreme, but the science backs it up. At UV index 8 to 10, you're in an environment where the sun is actively hostile to human tissue. But there's one final level where the UV index stops being a health warning and becomes a genuine survival threat. Level 5. UV index 11 and above is classified as extreme, and this is where the sun becomes a legitimate danger. This level is most common near the equator, at high altitudes, or in places with reflective surfaces, amplifying UV exposure. Think the Andes Mountains, the Australian outback, or tropical beaches where sunlight bounces off white sand and crystal clear water. One of the highest UV index readings ever recorded was 43.3 on the Lickencabur volcano in Bolivia. A measurement so extreme it's almost incomprehensible. At UV index 11 or higher, unprotected skin can burn in less than 5 minutes. Some people burn in 2. The intensity of UVB radiation at this level is so high that your skin's defense mechanisms are completely overwhelmed. The risk of developing skin cancer from repeated exposure at this level isn't just elevated, it's nearly guaranteed without protection. Studies of outdoor workers in extreme UV environments show skin cancer rates 5 to 10 times higher than the general population. But burns and cancer are just part of the story. At extreme UV levels, your immune system takes a severe beating. Langerhans cells, the immune sentinels in your skin, are killed off or rendered useless. This creates a localized immunosuppression that can last for days after exposure. It's why people sometimes get sick after a day at the beach in the intense sun. Their skin's immune defenses were annihilated, and opportunistic infections moved in. Eyes suffer catastrophically here. Photokeratitis, snow blindness, and other acute injuries can happen after just minutes of exposure without eye protection. Long-term, the cumulative effect of extreme UV on eyes leads to earlier and more severe cataracts, macular degeneration, ocular melanoma, a rare but deadly cancer of the eye. Mountaineers and polar explorers know this well. Glacier goggles aren't optional. They're survival equipment. The psychological aspect of extreme UV is also real. Spending time in UV index 11 plus environments without adequate protection creates a tangible sense of threat. The sun feels oppressive. You can feel your skin tightening, heating up, rebelling against the exposure. It's not paranoia, it's your body sending distress signals, and those signals are correct. At this level, the sun is actively harming you. What's terrifying is that extreme UV is becoming more common. Ozone depletion, particularly over Antarctica and parts of South America, has led to periods where UV levels spike far beyond normal. Climate change is shifting weather patterns, creating more days with clear skies and intense sun. High-altitude destinations are increasingly popular for tourism and recreation, exposing more people to UV levels their bodies aren't adapted to handle. The world is getting sunnier in the most dangerous way possible. Protection at this level requires military-grade commitment. SPF 50 plus sunscreen, reapplied every 90 minutes. Long sleeves, pants, wide-brimmed hats. Sunglasses with 100% UV protection. Shade whenever possible. And even with all that, prolonged exposure is still risky. This is the level where indigenous populations in high UV regions have evolved darker skin over millennia as a survival adaptation. If evolution needed thousands of years to solve this problem, that tells you everything about how serious it is. UV index 11 and above isn't just a weather warning. It's a statement about the limits of human biology. Our bodies weren't designed to handle this level of radiation without consequences. And as we push into environments where extreme UV is the norm, whether for work, recreation, or survival, we're testing those limits in real time. The sun at this level isn't your friend. It's not even neutral. It's an environmental hazard, one that will absolutely wreck you if you're not prepared. And here's the haunting part. Even with perfect protection, even if you do everything right, some damage still seeps through. Because when it comes to ultraviolet radiation, the only way to truly win is not to play at all.